What's up, guys? Got a video today answering some questions that I get a lot. I've been around the forums for the Chevy Bolt and the Tesla Facebook pages and Twitter and whatnot, and I get the question a lot, what are the differences between the Chevy Bolt and the Tesla Model 3? Well, I happen to own a Chevy Bolt. I also happen to own a Tesla Model 3, which you guys have probably already seen, but just in case you haven't, there you go. And his name is Max Q. I'm sitting in our 2017 Chevy Bolt, and I think I've got a unique perspective on this car because I've had it for over a year now, and I've also been driving a Model 3, our red Model 3 that we had since January. So I've driven both of these cars for almost a year, so I've got a unique perspective, I think, on ownership of these cars. Here's my thoughts. One of the biggest complaints that I've seen on the forums and on Twitter is that the Bolt seats are uncomfortable, and I would agree with that. They're not terribly uncomfortable for just traveling, you know, around town or whatnot, but on road trips or longer trips, they're not very comfortable. To me, that's a valid complaint, and if you're smaller, they might be more comfortable. I'm 5'10" and about 200 pounds, and to me, they're not very comfortable for longer trips. When I'm just driving around town, which is the majority, probably 90% of what I did when I was driving the Bolt all the time, they were fine. The seats were fine. I didn't have a problem with just driving around town, you know, 20, 30 miles, even maybe an hour. Not that big of a deal, but longer trips, they definitely will get to you, and there's not a lot of wiggle room in them to kind of shift around because the seats are narrow. That's my thoughts on the Bolt seats. One of the things I really like about the Bolt is the surround rear view camera, or the overhead camera view. So when you go into reverse, it gives you an overhead camera view where you can see, and it makes it really easy, like when you're backing into a spot or parking into a spot, you can see the lines in the parking space, so you can see if you're centered. That is a really cool feature. It's probably my favorite thing about the Bolt, and I hope that other car manufacturers implement this in the future. Here we are sitting in the Model 3, and I think the first thing that you think of when you sit in the Model 3 is you think of tech. And I think that when most people think of Tesla, they think of tech. And I think that's a very accurate perception that they have, because when my friends sit in this car, they look at the center screen and they just go, wow, they're blown away. And for good reason. It is a wow factor when you see the screen. And when I explain to them that you get over-the-air updates and how the car just keeps getting better and better over time, and I explain to them on my red VIN 89 car, when I got it in 2017, it didn't have rear heated seats. And then all of a sudden, a couple of months later, I did an update and it has rear heated seats. And then I explained to them how the braking has gotten better on these cars because they do an over-the-air update. And that's just something that just wows people. It completely floors them. And I think that is a big advantage that Tesla has over GM and some of these other people, is their tech. And when I think of what I like better about the Tesla Model 3 versus the Bolt, that's one of the first things I think of, is the tech. And when you see the tech in the Bolt and you see the tech in the Model 3, it's clear that one's far better than the other. But that's one of the things I like better about the Model 3. I I think the storage in the Chevy Bolt is pretty good. You can fold down the seats basically just like the Model 3. You can fold the seats forward, and it gives you quite a bit of trunk space. If you open the hatchback, lay down the seats, I've fit a lot of things in this little car, so it's nice. The opening is really big. I mean, for the size of the car it's really big, whereas the Model 3, the trunk opening's big, but it's not a hatchback, so it's somewhat more limited on what you can fit in there and what you can stack up. But there's definitely more carrying room if you fold the seats down in the Model 3. I think it certainly looks that way, but that's my opinion, and on the trunk space. The Model 3 also has a front trunk, which most people call a frunk. The Chevy Bolt does not have a frunk. With the Model 3, it's not a huge frunk, but it's nice. I can put my racquetball bag in there. You can put a carry-on bag in there. And what I like to use it most for is when I go pick up pizza, I can put the pizza in the frunk so it doesn't smell up my car. So it's a nice little feature that I think the Bolt misses out on. We have taken this Bolt on a few different trips. In fact, we took the Bolt up to pick up when we picked up VIN 89, the Model 3 that was VIN 89. When we went to Morgan Hill to pick that up, we drove the Bolt up there, and that was not fun. When we got up there, I took the whole family. Basically, it was 2 kids and 2 adults. And when we got up there, I had to charge. In fact, I had to charge on the way up there, which wasn't so bad. I pulled in and was able to find an EVgo station and charge. But when we got up there, I needed to charge to come back, and everywhere that I found on PlugShare, 2 different charging stations I went to, both of them had Nissan Leafs in them. I had no idea how long they were going to be there. Both of them were at shopping malls, and I had a little bit of a range anxiety for the first time in the Bolt. I couldn't figure out where I wanted to charge. To me, with the Supercharger network that Tesla has, that's a non-issue, and it's faster. To me, that's the biggest advantage right now that Tesla has over anyone, is the Supercharger network. So let's talk mobile apps. GM has their mobile app, and then Tesla has their mobile app, and you can look at the 2 apps and you can tell which one is a tech company. The Tesla app is way more slick, looks more refined. The Bolt app works most of the time. I did have some bugs with it where it didn't want to connect to the car, but I'll put a couple of screenshots of the Bolt app over here, and then I'll put a couple of screenshots of the Tesla mobile app over here, and that way I'll just scroll through the different screens on the app, and that way you can see the difference between the 2. And you can tell by just the look of it, one looks way more refined, and it just looks like a newer. The Bolt app just looks outdated. It does work. My 18-year-old used our Bolt for quite a while, and it was nice to be able to look and see in the Bolt app that it has this section called hard accelerations.
That's what she said.
And it was funny because I could monitor, how fast he was driving or how fast he was accelerating, and I could question him on, hey, what looked like you had 10 hard accelerations today. What was that about? And just kind of joking around about it. He's a good driver, so just more of joking around. But it's a cool little feature about that app. But when you look at both apps as a whole, the Tesla app is way nicer, way more refined. I've never had it crash. I've never had any problems with it connecting. So if I was to choose between the mobile apps, I would certainly choose the Tesla mobile app over the Bolt app. One of the things that I've always liked about the Bolt is how you sit up versus the Model 3. You kind of sit down, and it's more of a sports sedan type feel, whereas the Bolt, you sit up, You can see very well, even with the display in front or behind the steering wheel. You can still see in front of you very well. The view is great in this car, and you know, I don't have anything bad to say about the view. It's been great. It's one of the things I liked about it when we first got it. Another thing I would choose on the Tesla Model 3 over the Bolt is the horn. I'm just kidding, I could care less about the horn. One thing I like about the Model 3 over the Chevy Bolt is the ability to have a wireless charging pad in the car. As far as I know, there's no option for that for the Bolt, and while it doesn't come stock in the Model 3, what comes stock is a pad that you lay your phone on and you can plug your phone up. But as an aftermarket option, you can buy what I use is a Nomad wireless charging pad, and it's very simple to plug up. You just put it in place of the pad, and you plug it in to the USB ports that are in the center console, and you just lay your phone on the pad and it charges wirelessly. Now you have to have a phone that can do Qi wireless charging, but it's a great option, and I love that ability to be able to charge my phone wirelessly. I don't have to plug it up, and it's one of the things I do like about the Model 3 over the Bolt. So would I buy a Chevy Bolt or would I buy a Model 3? That's a tough question because it depends on what kind of deal you can get for a Chevy Bolt. When we got this Chevy Bolt, it was a smoking deal. We paid $200, a little over $200 a month for this car, and I don't think they're going for that now, but I felt like it was a steal, and we couldn't pass it up. So. And at that time, we didn't have any Teslas. We just had a Fiat 500e, and this was our second EV. And so it was a great lease when we got it. We didn't want to buy it because I knew there were other EVs coming out in the near future, and I wanted to see what else came out, and I didn't want to have to commit to buying it. I wasn't sure what kind of value they were going to hold and so forth. So that is the reason we leased it. It was a great deal, and but now that the mid-range Model 3 is out, the standard range will probably be out, I would say, within 6 months, depending on Elon time. But with a Chevy Bolt, I've seen where they're not. It doesn't seem like they're offering them for the price that I'm getting them, or that I got. So I think that if it was right now, I would probably buy a. If my budget was in that range, I would probably buy a mid-range Model 3, and with the tax credits and all that. You're getting a car with more range, with more features, with the glass roof. You're getting the Supercharger network. So there's a lot of things that you're getting that you're not getting with the Bolt. And I think it's just a nicer car. And cost-wise, I don't think it's you're going to be a whole lot different. But that's just my opinion. This has been a fun video to do. I appreciate you guys watching. If you or anyone you know is looking to buy a Tesla, please use my referral code. It's MARC, M-A-R-C, 57969. Again, it's MARC, M-A-R-C, 57969. I'll put a link to the referral code in the description of the video. I appreciate you guys watching, and we'll see you guys next time.